Babysitting was always one of my favorite things to do. It made me feel grown up and it helped me buy the things that my parents either couldn't or wouldn't. I took a lot of babysitting jobs over the years for many different families in the area. So I worked for all kinds of people in many different houses. But the strangest house I ever worked in was right next door. The Smiths may have had a typical last name, but nothing else was typical or normal about them. Miss Smith was not a soccer mom. In fact, looking back now, I'm pretty sure she was in the adult entertainment industry, if you get my drift. And Mr. Smith, he was a cowboy. Yes, I mean it. He competed in professional rodeos all over the world. They had 3 kids, but I didn't always have to watch the oldest. He was from Miss Smith's previous marriage. The kids were 10, 6, and 3. I was 16 at the time. I was working particularly hard to earn money for a car. My parents told me that if I came up with the first 1,000, they would cover the rest. They basically wanted me to prove to them that I was responsible and could take it seriously. So the summer I turned 16, I worked almost every day most weeks. I sacrificed time with my friends, but I knew it would pay off. The Smiths needed my help quite a bit that summer. Mr. Smith was in busy season and was constantly out of town. And Miss Smith, well, she was doing whatever Miss Smith did for work nightly. I will never forget that summer. It was the summer that changed my life. One night, I believe it was a Thursday, I was watching the Smith children. I had just tucked them into bed and read them some silly story when the weird occurrences started. I headed downstairs and grabbed my phone from my purse, eager to catch up with my friends, who were having a much more exciting summer than I was. Right as I sat down, I heard a thud upstairs. Ugh, Matt, I thought to myself. He had been on this kick lately of rebelling at bedtime. He was only 3 and could get in a lot of trouble if I left him on his own too long while awake. So I groaned and headed back upstairs. Only, when I opened his door, he was still as can be. I had put him to bed an hour ahead of the other 2, and he was fast asleep. I checked the other 2, and they were either asleep already or pretending to be. Not knowing what else it could be, I chalked it up to an animal on the roof or something, and headed back downstairs. A short while later, Nate, the oldest, came bounding down the stairs. Ashley, there's something weird happening. I'm trying to sleep, and I keep hearing tapping, he said. I heard something a few minutes ago after I got the little ones down, but I think it's just something running around up on the roof, I reassured him. He accepted that answer reluctantly and headed back upstairs. I was on the phone with my friend Nikki cleaning up the dinner mess when I let out a scream. The dishwasher door flew open and just about gave me a heart attack. I wasn't using the dishwasher and I hadn't touched it that day. Ash, are you okay? Nikki asked. Yeah, just the dishwasher trying to give me a heart attack. Ooh, haunted dishwasher, one teenager's terrifying tale, Nikki said. I've actually been hearing things all evening, and Nate did too, I said. Well, I have to go meet up with Jeremy at the movies. Try not to get possessed over there, Nikki replied. The rest of the evening went fine. I watched some TV and played a few games on my phone. I was about to text Nikki to see how the movie was when I heard footsteps coming up the basement stairs. I thought it was quite odd that Miss Smith was home early and coming up in through the basement, but I was just looking forward to going home. The basement door opened, but she wasn't there. No one was. I screamed out so loudly that Nate came running downstairs sleepily to check on me. He stayed down in the living room with me until his mom got home nearly 2 hours later. I didn't tell anyone about the events that evening besides what I told Nikki, mostly because I knew no one would believe me and partially because I didn't want to be made fun of. The next time I watched The Smith Kids was the most terrifying night of my young life. It's still the most afraid I've ever felt, and I'm nearly double that age now. The kids were already in bed, and I was just sitting there after cleaning up our popcorn and movie corner. There were footsteps on the basement stairs. Having some PTSD from the last time, I cautiously stood up, ready to run if need be. I waited, breathing intensifying, but the door didn't open this time. Instead, there was a knock. Yes, a knock, as if someone was there to visit. I didn't know what to do. On one hand, I should check in case there was someone on the other side of the door. On the other side, I was scared to know what was waiting on the other side. I reached up, attempting to turn the knob, but it wouldn't turn. Someone was holding it. My heart began to race. I was afraid someone broke in and knocked just to see if they could get me to let them in. Just like that, it went silent, and I felt the doorknob start to give way in my hand. Whoever was holding it wasn't holding it anymore. I was frozen in place, terrified of what I was going to see on the other side of the door, because it was opening from the force now that there was no resistance on the other side. A dark, shadowy figure ducked out of sight at the bottom of the stairs. I was terrified, but my adrenaline kicked in. I flew down the stairs, knowing someone had to protect the sleeping children upstairs, and I was their only guardian at the moment. Looking back, it was the dumbest thing I could have done, but in the moment, I was focused on protecting those children. When I got to the bottom of the stairs, I looked around. Sure, I was about to be grabbed or hit or something, but there was no one there. The basement wasn't big by any means, and there were no hidden rooms. It was wide open. I couldn't see the greatest, but there was this glow coming from the outside light. Speaking of outside, the door was undisturbed. Miss Smith had locked the deadbolt when she left, and it remained locked now. So no one came in using the door either. All 3 windows were shut and locked as well. The only explanation was a ghost? I felt like I was going crazy, but it was the only option. I still haven't shared this story with anyone but Nikki. I babysat for the Smiths a few more times that summer before they ultimately moved. I've always wondered if they were experiencing things that made them feel they needed to move. Wow, I wonder too, Ashley. Thank you for sharing your paranormal experiences with us. If you are listening and can relate to Ashley's story, drop a comment below. Also, please like and subscribe so we can continue our slow climb out of the YouTube dungeon. And with that, I'll see you tomorrow, friends.